After months of controversy surrounding several city issues, Salina's city manager calls for more respectful public discourse.
But as Gabriela Hernandez explains, some say the message itself is missing the point.
From storm debris cleanup to discolored water, the Cozy Inn lawsuit, and the criminal case involving the Salina Animal Shelter. It's been a busy few months at Salina City Hall. Now City Manager Jacob Wood is asking the community to change the tone of the conversation.
That does come off as very entitled.
And for some people, that message is landing the wrong way, with public frustration stemming from months of unresolved concerns.
If you take 5 minutes and go through them, there aren't threats. There's you're failing at your job. There's you're failing to listen to the people who pay your salary. The leadership point has been where everything keeps stopping.
In an open letter released this week, Wood says the community has every right to question and criticize city decisions, but writes, quote, "There's a difference between criticism and personal attack," adding some public comments have become personal, demeaning, and harmful towards city employees. He says the city can hold government accountable while still treating one another with decency and respect. And some community members agree, saying regardless of where people stand on these issues, criticism should never become personal.
We all want a better Salina, and when you get to the end of it, we're all friends and neighbors and businessmen and co-workers. We need to be communicating to solve these problems and make Salina the best that it can be, and we can't do that if we're yelling at each other.
Despite different reaction to the letter, one thing is clear: conversations surrounding these city issues and how they're discussed are likely to continue. In Salina, Gabriela Hernandez, 12 News.